Hello, boys and girls. Today, we're going to draw a parrot. So I'm going to teach you guys step by step and shape by shape to create a one-of-a-kind parrot, one that we read about in our book earlier. So I'm going to open it up to a blank page in my sketchbook. And to make our parrot stand out and to fit him on our page, we're going to go portrait style. So long, tall, like this, like a portrait. So I have a nice blank page and now I'm ready to draw. So I'm gonna start with a pencil, maybe have an eraser close by, and then later we'll get to outline, add pattern, and color. So let's go and draw our parrot. So we're gonna start with some lines and shapes to create him. So I'm gonna start with a hook shape, kind of looks like an upside down J, to make the top of our head. So since it's the top of our parrot, it's gonna start at the top of the page. Not all the way at the top, we wanna leave some room for the sky. So I'm gonna draw it just about here. So I draw a nice big J, or a cane line. All right, so now we're gonna go to the front of our shape, or to the other side, the short side, and we're gonna bring it down just a little bit for his little beak. Okay, now on the shorter side is where his eye is gonna go. So we're gonna start with a big circle and a small circle, just like that. Now towards his eye, we're gonna add his little beak, and we're gonna do that with some curved lines. So I start right where this line starts to straighten out. I'm gonna add a curved line to the other side, just like that. Then from the end of that curved line, I'm gonna curve back to the face, just like that, kind of like in the middle of where this line is. Then I go to the bottom of it, and I'm gonna add a big smile for the bottom of the beak, just like that. So now he's starting to look like a parrot. Now I'm gonna start to add his wing. So I'm gonna continue down almost about past halfway, and I'm gonna draw another straight line that keeps growing, just like that, just to kind of draw his back and the back of his wing. Now I'm gonna guess about halfway where this line is. So from here to here, I'm gonna find the halfway point, and I'm gonna draw a big curved line that kind of straightens out at the end. So kind of like half of a heart. So think of a heart. It goes, curves like a C, and then it straightens at the bottom, just like that. So now we have his head, his beak, and his wing. Now we're gonna draw his little belly. Now you can make his belly as big as you want. I like to make big bellies. I think animals that are a little bit chubby are so cute. So I'm gonna continue this line down a little bit, and then I'm gonna draw a big curved line that's gonna end at the wing. So he's kind of got a big old belly, just like that. All right, now I'm gonna add his tail. So the tail's gonna be super simple because it's just gonna be a big letter V. So I'm gonna go down to the bottom where his little bottom would be, and I draw a slight curve line, and then a straight line back up to the wing. So now he's got a long tail. Now before we add his little feet that are gonna be perched on a branch, we're gonna draw that branch. So I'm gonna draw two lines that are side by side. But once it reaches our parrot, we skip. So I draw my line, skip where my parrot is, and then keep going to the other side. And then I go up, and I do the same thing, just like that. Now I like to add, before we do our branches, let's add his little toes. So I'm just gonna add some curved V's for his toes. And you can add as many as you want. I think 3 is perfect. So I put it right next to his tail. Now the last thing we're gonna draw are some branches and some leaves. So branches grow at a diagonal. So I'm gonna draw two diagonal lines that get real close together. So they start far away at the bottom and then they get close together. And I like to draw a couple of them. And then I erase that part of the branch where my little branch is. So it looks like they're stuck together. Just like that. And now all I have left is to add some leaves. So I'm gonna use my pencil and draw some leaves. And to draw a leaf is I draw a curved line and then another one, just like that. And I'm gonna keep adding leaves to my branches. And I can kind of add them anywhere I want to. There's really no rule on where your leaves can grow, as long as they're from the branches and grow up. All right, and of course, you can add details to your leaves, adding the lines in the middle, and then some diagonal lines on each side going up. So it's up to you if you want to do this part, or you can leave them the way they are. So I'll just keep adding my details. And then next, I get to outline. So you know I love outlining my pictures. I just love that look, that very cartoony look. So I love to add an outline, but of course it's always optional. But I'm gonna use my Sharpie today and I'm gonna add my outline. So I put my cap on the back for safekeeping and I just trace over what I drew. All right, boys and girls, so now I'm ready to add color, the first part of color, and I'm gonna add some patterns. So I have my colors ready to go, and parrots have almost every color of the rainbow on them. That's why they're so fun and so perfect for art class. So I'm gonna start with red near the top of his head, and I'll probably end up with purple near the bottom, and I'm gonna add some patterns. I'm not gonna color yet, I'm just gonna add patterns and fill it in. So you'll get the idea once I start. So I'm gonna take my first color, which is red, and the red's gonna go about almost 1/3 of the way down. Actually, that's where orange is. So I'll go about 1/4 of the way down. So I'm gonna add some pattern going about 1/4 of the way down. So I'm not coloring, I'm adding a pattern. Do you guys remember what a pattern is? It's when you repeat something, a line or a shape. So I started with my red stripes, and next I'm gonna add some more patterns with my next color. So I'm gonna make a part of a section of red, a section of yellow, and a section of blue, and then I'm gonna do my secondary colors in between. So that's how I'm gonna add my pattern, but you can do it any way you like. So I'm gonna add some patterns on my parrot. So here I go. All right, boys and girls, so I have my first layer of color, and that is my pattern. So I added patterns all over my bird, even my branch and the sky. And now I'm gonna add a second layer of color on top. Now the color I'm gonna use is I'm gonna use watercolor on top of my crayons. But if you don't have watercolor, you can use markers, color pencils, or crayons. Again, just color them a little bit lighter. So I'm gonna get set up for painting, and then I'll be painting my bird. Okay, so I have myself set up and ready for painting. I have a little placemat or scrap paper underneath my page. I have my water bowl and my brushes, and I primed my watercolors. That means I added a little bit of water in them to get them going. So I'm gonna start with the color red, or maybe I'll start with pink, who knows. So I take my brush, make sure it's nice and wet. I tap it a few times in the color, and then I go ahead and I start painting on top. Now what you're gonna see is if you use crayon and watercolor, you'll notice that you can still see the crayon underneath. We call this resist. Resist because the wax of the crayon resists the watercolor. So now I have some red there. I'm gonna rinse my brush for a few seconds, get it nice and clean, and then I'm gonna move on to the next color. So tap 3 times. Now why I love using watercolor is it will blend and bleed into the color before it. So I have some orange, it's gonna bleed into the red and into the yellow. It's gonna look like a beautiful parrot. All right, so I'm gonna finish my painting. All right, boys and girls, there's my finished parrot. So I used all my colors and I let them blend together. Notice I had a piece of paper towel, so if it blended and I didn't want that to happen, I just dabbed it with my towel to get up that paint. But I think it turned out pretty good. So I can still see my patterns underneath and it looks awesome. So I hope you guys had a great time and I'll see you next time. Bye.